Somebody gotta do it.
A short time ago, the United States military began major combat operations in Iran.
Somebody gotta do it.
I stand here today a proud first-generation Latina and officer at CIA.
You'll be a woman.
این فقط یک پرواز نبود، شکستن دیوار صف‌کوب به زنان قدرتمند ارتش دفاعی اسرائیل.
Girls get it done.
And cutting rehearsal, no one moves, no one moves, no one moves.
Somebody gotta do it.
Are you a global superpower desperate to consolidate power abroad to distract from your dwindling propaganda at home?
Missiles are gone, launches are gone.
Are you implicated in a gigantic global conspiracy you'd really like your citizens to be distracted from until at least November?
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein?
Are you struggling to manufacture consent for actions that would in less insane times get you tried at The Hague?
You know, we have to prevent Iran from getting nukes.
Well, have you tried claiming that all of your horrific and unforgivable crimes are being done in the name of protecting women and girls? Oh, you have done that? And it's not working? Well, keep doing it anyway. Screw it. Keep trying and failing to explain to your millions of angry citizens why you are taking a giant shit on the Geneva Convention for reasons until you find something that sticks. I mean, it can't be worse than the truth, can it?
Feminista me opongo frontalmente a los ataques de Estados Unidos y de Israel contra el pueblo iraní y contra las mujeres iraníes. Presidenta, el primer objetivo militar de Netanyahu y de Trump ha sido una escuela femenina, matando a 160 niñas. Y mientras tanto, una portavoz de su partido dice que es una magnífica noticia para el feminismo. Así es como la derecha defiende los derechos de las mujeres iraníes, celebrando el asesinato de 160 niñas. Es infame. Y mientras tanto ustedes jalean una guerra que nos va a traer caos e inseguridad a todos. Y los primeros que mandan a otros a la guerra a morir nunca se prestan como voluntarios para ir al frente. Miren, y ya es hora de decírselo. Si tanto les gusta la guerra, vayan ustedes. Si tanto le gusta la guerra, váyase usted con Abascal. Porque hasta ahora lo único que le hemos visto es arrastrarse ante una potencia extranjera en contra de los intereses nacionales de España.
You ever notice how conservative politicians only care about women's rights when they can use it as a justification for hate, for conquest, or for plunder? Ask your garden variety Islamophobe why they hate Muslims, and more often than not, they will cite their concerns around the burqa, for example, despite not knowing anything about burqas or why women might choose to wear them. They will cite the MENA region's poor treatment of gay people, despite themselves saying things about the LGBT community that are far to the right of several other countries they are attempting to smear as irredeemably homophobic, and they will cite the treatment of women in places like Saudi Arabia, or more commonly, Iran. These same men will, without irony, be the same people demanding that wives submit to their husbands, that women should exist to serve men, insisting that feminism is cancer, and questioning whether women getting the right to vote was a mistake. They do not care about women. They care about justifying their hatred of Muslims, and there is no justification for racial hatred. This is bad enough when it is a single-minded individual arguing this. You know they don't actually care about women. They know they don't actually care about women, but they'll say anything that they know that you care about to try and get you to believe that their hatred, their disgust for an entire group of people, is logical and righteous, when the opposite is in fact true.
I think that we play too big of a role in other countries' military shit. Like, we're too interventionary, we get too involved into other people's business. It's a waste of our money. The people there probably fucking hate us. Like, where's really the upside here, right? stay out of it. Yeah, exactly. Now, I'm not saying like we should be totally isolationist, but I think that the level that we try to play nation building, especially in places like this, like, you know, like Libya, for example, back in the day, what the fuck? Or Iraq. No, absolutely not. Yeah, it's too much, man. Way too much. I am so happy this has happened. I am just dramatically, tremendously happy this has happened. I know that, you know, obviously I've talked about it for a long time, about how big of a problem Iran is and everything. I was a big supporter of us before, and now we're again, and this is just amazing.
You gotta do it.
Put a pin in that. And let me introduce you to the kind of person who actually believes, like our hypothetical conservative, that attacking Muslim countries will bring freedom and justice to women in West Asia. The humble racist saying this does not actually care about women and girls and just wants to satisfy his hatred. This type of person is instead blinded by his hatred for a state that he has deluded himself into thinking you can into feminism.
One of my harem at my side. And when they say Iran will, if you get rid of these people, isn't it going to be worse? And we just go, boy. She must do everything I say. Can it get any worse than where it is now? How patronizing.
Omid Jalili is a British-Iranian comedian, probably best known for having an extremely unfunny sketch comedy show on the BBC in the late 2000s.
I'm Iranian in UK.
Because the BBC has all the grace and dignity of a brain tumour, when the recent man-made horrors beyond my comprehension kicked off recently in the birthplace of Omid Jalili's parents, the BBC interviewed the comedian to see what he thought about Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu plunging the entirety of West Asia into chaos. Rather than being horrified at the obvious horrors, or empathizing with the people on the receiving end of American and Israeli missiles, Jalili mused about how good this would be for the women of Iran, not apparently realizing that women are not immune to artillery and will be half of the casualties in this conflict. He said that women, particularly mothers, had not been simply resisting, but had been actively calling for outside support. It is mothers who are calling for intervention, not as war, as a rescue mission. You call this a rescue mission? You think mothers are calling for hospitals, for schools, for the streets, for public infrastructure, for ancient historical sites, for their families and friends to turn to rubble?
Could it get any worse than where it is now? How patronizing.
Well, if you thought that take was odd, YouTube idiot Caleb Hammer's take was even more ridiculous, demonstrating that he has absolutely no idea what the state of women's rights in Iran was, and thinking, like Jalili, that these horrors will liberate the women of the region, instead of what the reality is, that it will take away their lives.
Controversial, the woman supporter. I want women to be able to go to school, get a job, and wear what they want outside. So let's just start with this quick. He's talking about Iran, and he's talking about this after they get by the United States and Israel. So what country does he actually think he's talking about? I want women to be able to go to school. They go to school in Iran. I want women to be able to get a job. They can get a job in Iran. I want women to be able to wear what they want outside. So here's the last little sticking point. Yes, this is true that in Iran, because of it being more conservative and run by a religious authority, there have been restrictions on what women can wear. It's mainly about head coverings.
Well, it's not just members of the Iranian diaspora or the most uneducated influencers on the planet who are claiming these actions, which will end the lives of hundreds, if not thousands of women and girls, are being done in the name of women's rights. The people doing said of hundreds, if not thousands of women and girls are saying it as well. The IDF's Farsi spokeswoman, for example, in this video shared by journalist Seamus Malakavsali, who you should all be following by the way, bragged that female IDF pilots were raining death upon Iran in a feminist way. A girl boss way. According to her, they are women breaking the wall of oppression. Women are not spectators to history, they are its creators, she says to an audience of Farsi speakers who she is presumably, once the cameras are off, going to try and compromise to a permanent end.
ده‌ها زن خدمه پروازی نیروی هوایی اسرائیل شامل خلبانان و کمک خلبانان نشان دادند که شجاعت حد و مرز نمیشناسد. این شیر زنان در حمله گسترده نیروی هوایی اسرائیل به دیکتاتوری جمهوری اسلامی شرکت کرده و ثابت نمودند که زنها نیز میتوانند در خط مقدم بایستند و از باورشان دفاع کنند. این فقط یک پرواز نبود، شکستن دیوار سرکوب به زنان قدرتمند ارتش دفاعی اسرائیل، به همرزمان دلیرم افتخار می کنم که دوش به دوش مردان از خاک کشور اسرائیل دفاع می کنند. پیامشان روشن است. زن تماشاگر تاریخ نیست، سازنده آن است.
Speaking of female IDF soldiers, remember when Hila Klein of the H3H3 podcast and participant in a raid on the occupied West Bank praised the female pilot who attacked Iran in the 12-day war last June? Female pilot who participated in the attack on Iran. Israeli women are heroes, she said. Remarkably similar language there for a similarly awful person doing a similarly awful action in the same place. If only these people had the same level of respect and admiration for women in Iran as they do for the people whose job it is to end their lives. Because fundamentally, no matter how much they might recognize the struggles of women in Iran, they cheer on imperialist attacks on the country, and cheer on, by proxy, the deaths of these Iranian women. When death rains upon you from the sky, it does not matter to you if it's a man or a woman dropping the munitions. This year, in a decidedly un-Girlboss move, however, the H3 podcast host most loudly cheering on the serial murders of women and girls in Iran is Ethan Klein himself, whose Instagram stories are so full of praise and hype for the Israeli-American onslaught, you'd be forgiven for thinking had suffered the same morals-obliterating stroke that once hit John Fetterman.
I think the world would be, across the board, would be a better place for everybody. The people in Iran, especially the people in Iran. These guys need to be held account. It's like you said, it would be such a shame for all these people to die and for nothing to change. So I'm personally in favor of intervention for the people of in Iran, and I think it's overwhelming from what I've seen. The people, the Persians that I've seen, that I've talked to, seem to overwhelmingly support intervention against the Ayatollah's regime, and I personally think that it would be a good thing if it happened. So yeah, I think intervention. I think it's a good thing, frankly, on balance.
For those of you who haven't been completely brain poisoned like me by the last few years of constant unbearable horrors, you might not be aware that this kind of girlboss imperialism, for lack of a better term, has been a PR strategy of the IDF for many years. Along with the pinkwashing of Israel that's mostly been buried at this point, where Israel was portrayed as one of the greatest places in the world to be gay, despite gay marriage not being legal there, and the consistent blackmailing of gay Palestinians, the time Sacha Baron Cohen got attacked in the street in Israel for being dressed as a gay man, and the fact that gay Palestinians are also not immune to munitions.
Hey yo! We want to introduce you to the most amazing destinations in the world. Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. It's young, sunny, colorful, diverse.
Gal Gadot, for example, was not simply scouted by Hollywood for her incredible acting abilities.
Kalel, no!
The former Miss Israel, who proudly served in the IDF, was a star feature in Maxim magazine's The Chosen Ones, Israeli Defense Forces feature. A glossy glamour photo shoot where IDF veterans were turned pin-ups and sexy posers to try and sell you an image of the IDF as equal parts Hague waiting room and Playboy mansion.
And enough champagne to fill the Nile.
It's not just Gadot, however, and it's not just print media that's complicit in the Israeli propaganda machine. In the paper Dancing in Uniform, Thirst Trap Propaganda in Military Image Wars on TikTok, Marcus Bosch et al. Discuss how in the post-October 2023 horrors, the use of TikTok by female IDF soldiers as a tool for digital militarism and image warfare. Following the on October 7th, 2023, there was a surge in IDF soldiers posting thirst trap videos, blending dance, seduction, and militarized imagery to humanize soldiers and amplify state narratives. Analyzing 200 accounts and 500 videos, the study identifies a spectrum of different seduction techniques, ranging from cute, soft power dynamics to the dramatization of eroticized brutality. The low-tier content features playful, non-militant aesthetics, while middle-tier content incorporates weapons and military settings to recontextualize platform trends, and high-tier content involves explicit self-sexualization and provocative imagery. These videos exploit TikTok's participatory affordances and algorithmic visibility to maximize engagement, while trivializing violence across varying intensities. And obviously this isn't just an Israeli phenomenon either. The United States has been at this for just as long as its favourite apartheid state has. There's a reason that cartoon about the female bomber took off on social media, and why more female drone pilots was a meme. And who can forget the Humans of CIA propaganda video from 4 years ago about how progressive and diverse the agency is? The agency that consistently overthrows governments and throws millions of people into meat grinders if they dare to vote for anyone to the left of Adolf Hitler, that is.
I am tired of feeling like I'm supposed to apologize for the space I occupy rather than intoxicate people with my effort, my brilliance. I'm a woman of color. I am a mom. I am a cisgender millennial who's been diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder. My parents left everything they knew and loved to expose me to opportunities they never had. Because of them, I stand here today a proud first-generation Latina and officer at CIA. I am unapologetically me. I want you to be unapologetically you, whoever you are. Know your worth. Command your space.
Now, this shouldn't need to be said, so I'm just going to be as blunt as possible about this. There is no excuse for imperialism. None. And as much as I hate when people try to turn a conversation about these horrors into a debate about whether the government was bad enough for the people they govern to deserve to die, I'm going to have to engage with the people on this who can't seem to understand that you don't need to like a government to not want its citizens to be turned to ash at the hands of an invading army. No matter how much distaste you might have for the way a state is governed, it does not justify raining fire down upon its citizens. It is true that treatment of Iranian protesters has been pretty brutal. It is true that the women's protests in Iran over the last few years were righteous. It is true that life for many women in the Islamic Republic has been less than ideal. The compulsory head-covering laws that led to the death of Mahsa Amini, for example, suck, and the women of Iran deserve to be able to choose how they dress and present themselves and live a life of dignity on equal standing to the men of Iran. None of this means that military intervention should ever be on the table, let alone framing it as a rescue mission. What gives Israel, an apartheid state who has, for the last 2.5 years, been conducting and the United States, a fascist police state, currently throwing people into camps if they look too brown, and who has been a partner in said Israeli any right to even a crumb of moral high ground on this? And even if they did, how would any of what they are doing help? The women who they claim to care about so much are the ones at the receiving end of this rescue mission that fuck-ass comedians like Omar Jalili want so bad.
Could it get any worse than where it is now? How patronizing, how awful.
If you find yourself buying into any of these arguments, that because women lack certain rights in Iran, that their country deserves to be flattened into glass, well, firstly, go check yourself into the emergency room because you've clearly gotten a lobotomy while you weren't paying attention. And secondly, consider how no one ever makes this argument about, for example, Saudi Arabia, a country with a worse record for women's rights and indeed human rights than Iran, and who gets to do whatever the fuck it wants all the time because it's a United States ally. The Saudis have much more blood on their hands than Iran. Just look at what they did to Yemen. Their treatment of women has been atrocious and worse than Iran's. Their treatment of migrant workers is legalized slavery, and there was a time when they just openly murdered a journalist, and we all just forgot about it. So Why Iran and not them? In fact, screw that. Why anyone? Why should you get to decide who lives and who dies? Think again about the racist that pretends he cares about Iranian women to try and justify his bigotry. He is just one man, one hypothetical man, but one who most of us will have met multiple of. But he is also a metaphor for certain trigger-happy states. States make these arguments all the time. The United States claims deep concern for the rights of Iranian women, for Iranian protesters, for women protesters who protest en masse against, for one thing, police brutality. The United States is the police brutality capital of the world. As for women's rights, the United States overturned Roe v. Wade. Women are in danger all across that country. Their rights are being stripped away as we speak. The United States government does not care about women's rights. They care about finding a reason to criticize a nation they no longer want to exist, that will stick, that the public will hold on to, that they can deploy when they want to do, well, what they're doing now. They think you are stupid. They think that you will believe that their munitions, their firepower, their machinery of death is raining down on a country of 90 million people to protect the country's 45 million women. It is not. This is what the United States and Israel really think about the women and girls of Iran.
Weeks since this war with Iran has been underway, the deadliest incident of civilian casualties was a strike that happened on an elementary school in southern Iran that killed scores of children. Tonight, a CNN analysis of that attack reveals evidence suggesting that the United States military was likely responsible for it. What you're about to see is disturbing. I want to warn you. The United States says it's still under investigation, but this was the scene at the school just after the strikes 1 week ago, nearly. CNN has not independently confirmed the death toll, but Iranian health officials and state media believe that at least 168 children and 14 teachers were killed.
On the 28th of February, in one of the first moves of the US and Israeli aggression against Iran, an Israeli strike hit an elementary school for girls in Minab, southern Iran, ending the lives of at least 165 people, mostly children. A girls' elementary school. What did the children of this school do to deserve this? How can you say that you are for the liberation of women and girls and do this? Anyone who can even conceive of such a thing is surely a bigger threat to women and girls than most anyone else on this planet. And this is just the most stark example of the targeting of innocent child civilians. Since 2023, how many civilian buildings, how many hospitals have been destroyed? How many hundreds of thousands of women and girls have been lost thanks to the actions of criminal regimes that dare to claim they care about women and girls, bragging about having female pilots in the IDF, posting TikToks of women dancing in the same uniforms they wear when they put women and girls into the ground. They do not care about women and girls, and they certainly do not care about the lives of the Muslim women and girls that they cite as justification for their actions. This is not feminism. This is imperialism, and no matter what kind of spin you try to put on it, the actions of these people in Gaza, in Lebanon, in Iran are the opposite of liberation. Anyone who cares about feminism, truly cares about feminism, about women's rights, should be against this. Anyone who genuinely cares about these issues knows that you cannot be truly feminist without being anti-imperialist. Do not let the shower of bastards in charge of our countries butcher the memories of those who fought for liberation by implying that any of this is for the women of Iran. The women of Iran will die just the same as the men when American and Israeli missiles rain down from the sky. But these horrors will end. With any luck, with the way the Americans are panicking, and the oil markets, frankly, they will end sooner rather than later. The people of the world, the women of the world, can never be free while the threat of invasion looms overhead. If you truly care about women's liberation, you need to stop thinking in terms of USA good, Muslim country bad, and start to get to work dismantling the systems that prevent actual equality for women. Imperialism, patriarchy, capitalism. All over the world, people are starting to wake up to the reality that the way the global capitalist order is structured is wrong, that it hurts people all the time, that it punishes people for being poor, for being in a country outside the US sphere of influence, for daring to take control of their own natural resources, and yes, for being a woman or a minority. We have a world to win where women truly can live freely, where we can all live freely. And we can build it. We have to build it if we ever want to live in a world where wars like this never happen again. I believe that we can. I have to believe that we can.
The Empire strikes first.
Hey, thank you for watching this video all the way to the end. Dark topic, I know, but I had to talk about this. Thank you for watching. I don't know what I was going to say there. This fucking sucks. I hate this. Feels like 2003 all over again. You know, when I first got politicized, it was because the US was dragging the world into a war in the Middle East. How times change 13 years later. Jesus fucking Christ. Someone stop these fucking imperialist pig dogs. Ugh, I maybe showed my hand a bit there. Fuck this. Fuck America. Don't ban me from this platform if you're listening to me, Americans. Should I delete that? Let's find out. Anyway, if you like this video, I'm sure that's a strong word, but if you think this deserves to be watched, like it, hype it if you can. This is going to be massively demonetized, so once you've hyped, left a comment, subscribed, and told your friends about it, please give a donation, because this will probably not get monetized. And I just had to get a bunch of dental stuff done, and that's cost me an arm and a leg, which I do not have. So help if you can. And also in the pinned comments should be a link to a fundraiser for my friend Ahmed, who's in Gaza and who was trying to get out for a while, and then they closed the fucking borders. And obviously with all this, Israel has renewed the intensity that they had before against the Gazans. So help Ahmed if you can, and if you have anything left over, then I would really appreciate a tip or anything like that. But it's, you don't have to just do it for free. You don't just have to do it without any benefits, because what you can do, you can also join my Patreon on my YouTube memberships. Those are basically the same thing, where you can get early videos, and we can get uncensored versions of videos. This one will probably be heavily censored, so if you want to see it uncensored, Patreon or YouTube memberships where you can go see that. You can also get my Nintendo Switch friend code. You can see how long I've played Pokemon Fire Red on there. You can get exclusive content, such as interviews with people who've been on the channel before, and you can get the stream archives early when I really get into streaming. Oh my god, I'm still putting that off. I promise I'll get to it. I promise I will. When your mouth is full of needles and stuff, it's a lot harder to get that stuff done. And also, I did have a massive crash out at the start of this year, and I know it's March, but I'm still got the start of this year. But also with that stuff, you'll also get your name read out at the end of the video. If you want to do that, just like these lovely people. Okay, I've only sighed because of the first one. You know what you've done, Heather. Okay. Cat, breathe this fart noise out. The Flying Brit, Aegis, Uncast Shadow of a Southern Myth, Aaron R, Rain, Michael McGroty, Will, Alexandra Barnes, Reesenet, Ken Sorden, Andrew Steele, Georgie, Carlito Del Mozzote, Anna Nicholson, Dungeon Slime, Naomi Gorman, Melody, Ben Norman, Brooklynette, Heidi Law, Transform Function, Cara Patching, Mattia98, Lilith Dawn, Spin Noir, Gilda Gilda Dragon, A Slice of Cake, Rue, Buried Elk, Ewan Bennett, Maltiam, Gina Service, You Are Made of Stupid, Tomo, Melissa Jackson, Renna Proves Your Stuff, Minstrel of course, Emma Not Emma, Jeffreyon, Tom the Not Quite So Brave as Sir Lancelot, LFR, Treecoy, Ariella Proquar, Robin Thomas, Emily Eisenberg, Garlic Scape, Kira B, No Sparkling Heart, Corey, Jenna J, Enlightened of the Sword, Carolyn, Imogen Q, Luciano Frias Andrade, Harry, Adam, Ndog191, Cab, Quesadilla de Tortilla Azul, Leron, Adam Lees, Daniel Nevels, I know that, Paul, MB, Wandering Wonder, Lex Phoenix, Enter Kurzitz, Mira D, Jade Senior, Boa Ear, James W. Thorngill, Deborah Laboon, Zilla's Athenaeum, Vince Whitaker, Amelia Lissette, Jay, Mike McManus, Susan Foster, Eleanor Real, Sierra Whiskey, Ali Catgirl, John N, Lord Luciente, Jason Cribbett, Shield Daden, Robin Podolsky, Nightlight Pushy Jesus, Casual Observer, Mantare, Courtney Burpack, Sleepy Slug, Soma Piglet, Brain Douche, Artie Wolf, Gianna McMillan, Caroline Megalado, Alexandra Lilly, Howard Lott, Marky Love, Zach Beaven, Meow Meowski, Kamui, Eva Kebab, Marty Hunt, Robin McCallan, Jane Luciferian, Melissa Allen, Ataraxis Builds Things, and Sarah Francesca Smith. Thank you all so much for supporting the channel. Thank you in what is still a difficult time, not just for my life anymore, but also the world. Oh boy! Everything you donate helps me keep this going. I would like to keep this going for ever, honestly, but at least for as long as I can. So thank you so much. It really means the world to me. And thank you everyone for hyping that last video. It seems to actually help. They said I got like hype points. Never seen a hype point meter before. This is the first time I've ever seen it, and it's done quite well. So if you ever want to hype a video, or if you even if you don't want to, but you should do it, because apparently it actually does help. Because that one did quite well, and I'm glad it did, because I really didn't think it was going to, but I thought it was funny, and other people seemed to agree. And it's rare that I think that about my own stuff, even though people tell me that it is. So that was good. The world sucks. World sucks. God willing, it'll get better soon. Oh my lord. Somebody leak the Epstein files. You know, we could solve all of this if someone just leak this fucking... You cowards, if you're listening from the FBI, you're a fucking coward. Leak the fucking full Epstein. Leak those videos of Trump. Just fucking get it over with. Okay.